What if everything we believe about living well is backwards? Picture this. While Americans optimize every minute for maximum productivity, people in Nordic countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, work fewer hours, take longer vacations, and somehow rank as the world's happiest people year after year. Here's what's fascinating. These aren't cultures blessed with endless sunshine or unlimited resources. In fact, they experience some of the world's longest, darkest winters. Yet they've cracked a code about time that eludes most of the developed world. They understand something profound that we're missing. The average person lives roughly 30,000 days. If you're 30, you've already spent 11,000 of those days. They're gone, never coming back. While most of us race through life like we have infinite time, Nordic cultures have developed what researchers call intentional temporality, a deep understanding that scarcity creates value. But here's where it gets interesting. Studies from the University of Copenhagen reveal that Danish people don't actually have more leisure time than Americans or Brazilians. They simply structure their time around what psychologists call peak experience optimization. Every moment is curated for maximum life satisfaction, not maximum output. In the next 15 minutes, you'll discover the Nordic framework for time wisdom. This isn't about productivity hacks or life optimization. This is about fundamental alignment with how humans actually thrive. These are cultural insights from societies that have mastered the art of living well, the art of temporal presence. While we obsess over future planning and past regrets, Nordic cultures have perfected something that seems almost revolutionary: the ability to fully inhabit the present moment. This isn't mindfulness meditation you'd find in a wellness app. This is Hygge as a time philosophy. Now you might think Hygge is just candles and cozy sweaters, Instagram's version of Scandinavian living. But that's like thinking meditation is just sitting quietly. Real Hygge is a systematic approach to extracting maximum meaning from ordinary moments. Here's what Nordic countries understand that others miss. When your brain encounters novel sensory experiences or slows down to notice details, it creates more detailed memories. More memories equal the perception of more time lived. This is why childhood summers felt endless. Every experience was new and noticed. Danish research shows that people practicing true Hygge experience what neuroscientists call temporal expansion. Time literally feels slower and richer. Instead of rushing through daily activities, Nordic cultures build ritual and intentionality around simple pleasures. A morning coffee isn't just fuel. It's a 15-minute sensory experience. Dinner isn't just nutrition. It's a sacred boundary between work and rest. Unlike in America, where we multitask through meals while checking phones, in Denmark they practice what they call mono-attention. The science behind this is remarkable. When you focus completely on one experience, the warmth of a cup, the texture of food, the quality of light streaming through a window, your brain starts recording these moments as meaningful rather than letting them blur into background noise. Try this Nordic experiment. Choose one daily routine you normally rush through. Instead of multitasking, practice complete presence. Notice temperatures, textures, sounds. Your brain will start creating the sensation of a fuller, richer day. The Norwegians have a saying: "Det ikke hvor længe du lever, men hvor mye liv du får ind I årene." It's not how long you live, but how much life you get into your years. Swedish equilibrium. Thinking. The Swedish concept of lagom might be the most revolutionary approach to priorities you've never heard of. It means just the right amount, and it directly contradicts everything American productivity culture teaches us about maximization. While we're taught to optimize everything, work harder, earn more, achieve bigger goals, Swedes have mastered something counterintuitive: optimization through constraint. Lagom isn't about doing less. It's about doing precisely enough in each area of life to maintain sustainable excellence. Think about this. Swedish companies consistently outperform their global competitors, not through overwork, but through what researchers call strategic sufficiency. They've identified the point of diminishing returns in every area of life and deliberately stopped there. Here's their practical framework that challenges everything we believe about priorities. Instead of ranking tasks 1 through 10, Lagom thinking uses 3 categories. Essential, the 2 or 3 things that truly move your life forward. Sufficient, the 4 or 5 things that need attention but not perfection. Optional, everything else that can wait or be eliminated. Unlike in America, where we glorify the hustle and try to excel at everything, Swedish culture asks a different question. What if stopping at good enough in some areas actually creates space for genuine excellence in what matters most? Swedish studies show that people practicing lagom report higher life satisfaction despite achieving less by traditional metrics. They work fewer hours than most developed nations yet maintain some of the world's highest productivity rates. The psychological insight is profound. When you stop trying to excel at everything, you create mental space for genuine mastery in your chosen domains. Most people are pursuing sufficiency in areas that deserve excellence, and perfection in areas where sufficiency would be wise. What if everything we believe about maximizing potential is backwards? What if the secret to excellence isn't doing more, but choosing less, then doing those few things exceptionally well? The anti-ego approach to achievement Nordic cultures operate under an invisible social code that fundamentally reshapes how they approach success. It's called janteloven, the law of Jante, and it might be the most misunderstood concept in Scandinavian culture. You might think this is about suppressing ambition or mediocrity by design. But here's what's fascinating. This isn't about limiting achievement. It's about channeling achievement through community benefit rather than individual ego. The principle is elegantly simple. Personal success means nothing if it comes at the expense of collective well-being. This creates what social psychologists call interdependent achievement, success that lifts everyone. While American culture celebrates individual breakthrough and personal branding, Nordic cultures ask a different question before making major decisions. How does this serve both my growth and my community's well-being? This dual filter eliminates many time-wasting pursuits that only serve ego or social status. Here's why this matters for how you spend your precious time. When you're not constantly competing for individual recognition, you free up enormous mental energy typically spent on status management, social comparison, and ego protection. Nordic research shows this leads to what they call flow accessibility, the ability to enter deep, productive states more frequently. Think about how much time Americans spend on personal branding, social media positioning, and competitive comparison. Now imagine redirecting that energy toward collaborative projects, shared learning, and mutual success. The paradox of janteloven: by caring less about individual recognition, you often achieve more meaningful and lasting success. Your time gets invested in projects with genuine impact rather than hollow achievements that look good on LinkedIn but change nothing. What if the secret to personal fulfillment isn't getting ahead of others, but getting ahead while pulling others forward? The Norwegian formula for mental clarity. Norwegians have a cultural mandate that seems simple but contains profound wisdom about time and energy. Friluftsliv, or free air life. This isn't weekend camping or vacation hiking. This is the systematic integration of nature into daily life as a tool for cognitive optimization. While Americans treat nature as something you visit on weekends or vacations, Norwegians understand something that neuroscience is just beginning to prove. Regular exposure to natural environments doesn't just improve mood, it fundamentally alters brain function. Research from the Norwegian Institute of Public Health shows that people practicing Friluftsliv experience improved decision-making, enhanced creativity, and what neuroscientists call cognitive restoration. Essentially, your brain's ability to reset and process information more effectively. Here's the practical framework that challenges our indoor-centric work culture. Norwegians structure their days around what they call micro-adventures, small doses of nature that serve as cognitive circuit breakers. A 10-minute walk in a park before important decisions. eating lunch outside instead of at your desk, taking calls while walking rather than sitting. The time paradox of Friluftsliv might surprise you. These nature breaks feel like lost productivity, but actually create what researchers call cognitive multiplication. Your brain works more efficiently when it returns to focused tasks. Norwegian companies have embraced this scientifically. Many offer Friluftsliv hours, where employees are encouraged to take outdoor breaks during the workday. The result? Higher productivity, lower burnout, and improved problem-solving abilities. Unlike in America, where stepping away from your desk feels like slacking, Norwegian culture recognizes that your brain operates like a muscle. It needs recovery to perform at its peak. Those outdoor moments aren't breaks from productivity. They're investments in cognitive capacity. What if the key to better thinking isn't more thinking, but strategic breaks that allow your mind to reset and recharge? Natural rhythms versus artificial consistency. Nordic cultures have mastered something most of the world struggles with: working in harmony with natural energy cycles rather than against them. This isn't about work-life balance. It's about work-life integration that honors your biological design. While American culture demands consistent performance 12 months a year, Nordic countries learned something from necessity. When you experience dramatic seasonal changes, you discover that human energy and motivation naturally fluctuate. Instead of fighting these rhythms, they design their lives around them. Here's the Danish framework that challenges everything we believe about consistency. Winter mode focuses on deep work, planning and skill building during darker months. Summer mode emphasizes relationships, adventure, and execution during brighter periods. Rather than maintaining constant intensity year-round, they cycle between periods of inward focus and outward expression. The biological science supporting this is compelling. Your brain produces different neurochemicals throughout the year based on light exposure, temperature, and social rhythms. Fighting these changes creates what researchers call chronobiological stress, essentially, working against your internal operating system. Danish companies have institutionalized this wisdom through what they call seasonal project planning. Complex, analytical work gets scheduled during winter months when people naturally crave focused, individual tasks. Collaborative, creative projects get scheduled during summer when social energy peaks. Unlike in America, where we set January resolutions and expect linear progress, Nordic cultures understand that sustainable change happens in cycles. They plan their goals around their natural energy patterns rather than arbitrary calendar dates. What if everything we believe about consistency is backwards? What if the secret to sustainable achievement isn't forcing yourself to maintain the same energy year-round, but learning to work with your natural rhythms? The result is what Danes call effortless productivity, achieving more by working with your design, rather than imposing artificial consistency. The Finnish philosophy of enough Finnish culture embodies a profound relationship with consumption that directly impacts how they experience time. The principle of rita, having enough. This isn't minimalism for aesthetic reasons. It's strategic consumption designed to maximize time freedom. While American culture equates more possessions with more success, Finnish culture has calculated something most people miss: the true cost of ownership. Every possession requires attention, maintenance, and mental energy. Finns have figured out that the real price isn't what you pay. It's the ongoing time investment required to maintain, organize, store, and eventually dispose of things. Finnish research reveals that people with fewer, higher-quality possessions report what they call temporal spaciousness, the feeling of having more time and mental bandwidth for experiences that actually matter. Here's their practical framework that challenges consumer culture. Before acquiring anything, objects, commitments, or even information, Finns ask 3 questions. Does this serve a specific purpose in my life? Will I still find this valuable in 5 years? What am I giving up? Time, space, attention to have this. This extends beyond physical objects to digital consumption. Finns consume far less social media and news than other developed nations, not from digital aversion, but from intentionality. They've recognized that information overload creates what psychologists call cognitive residue. Your brain continues processing inputs long after consumption, stealing attention from present experiences. Unlike in America, where we accumulate possessions as symbols of success, Finnish culture measures wealth differently, by the amount of mental space and time freedom you maintain. The time liberation is remarkable. When you stop acquiring, maintaining, and organizing unnecessary things, you discover hours of previously hidden time. Finns use this recovered time for what they call elämänlaatu, life quality activities that money can't buy. What if true wealth isn't about having more, but about needing less? What if the path to time abundance runs through conscious limitation rather than endless accumulation? The Icelandic investment in human connection, Iceland, with its small population of 370,000, has created what sociologists call the world's most socially sustainable culture, a system where relationships are treated as long-term investments, requiring careful cultivation and maintenance, while American networking culture focuses on collecting contacts and expanding professional circles. Icelandic culture has discovered something counterintuitive. Meaningful connections don't happen by accident, and more isn't always better. Instead of collecting contacts, Icelanders practice what researchers call relationship deepening, systematically strengthening existing connections rather than constantly forming new ones. This creates what social scientists term social capital compound interest, relationships that become more valuable over time. Here's their framework that challenges everything we believe about social success. Icelanders maintain what they call connection rituals, regular, low-pressure interactions that keep relationships warm without requiring major time investments. Weekly coffee dates with the same few people rather than monthly networking events with strangers. Annual traditions that bring extended family together rather than sporadic reunions. The time wisdom is profound. Investing consistently in fewer, deeper relationships yields far more support, opportunity, and joy than maintaining hundreds of shallow connections. Icelanders report having smaller social circles but much higher relationship satisfaction. Unlike in America, where we measure social success by the size of our network, Icelandic culture asks a different question. How deep can these connections go? They've discovered that relationship quality multiplies over time when you invest consistently in the same people. The practical application challenges modern social anxiety. Instead of trying to meet new people constantly, identify the 8 to 10 people who genuinely matter to your life and well-being. Create simple, recurring rituals to maintain these connections. Let other relationships naturally fade, rather than feeling obligated to maintain everyone. What if social abundance isn't about knowing more people, but about knowing fewer people more deeply? The Swedish art of inner work, Swedish culture, has transformed what most people see as a disadvantage, long winter darkness, into a systematic practice of self-reflection and life design. This isn't seasonal depression. This is intentional use of natural introspection periods. While American culture fights against darker seasons with artificial light and constant stimulation, Swedish culture asks a different question. What if these quieter periods serve a purpose? What if fighting natural rhythms costs us more than embracing them? The principle is beautifully simple. Just as nature uses winter for root development and energy conservation, humans can use darker periods for what Swedes call inre arbete, inner work that's impossible during busy, bright periods. Swedish research shows that people who embrace rather than resist seasonal introspection report higher life satisfaction and better decision-making abilities. The key is structure. Rather than simply enduring darker months, Swedes actively design them for specific outcomes. Their framework includes monthly life reviews, structured reflection on what's working, what isn't, and what needs adjustment. Annual vision sessions where they clarify values, priorities, and direction for the coming year. Weekly gratitude inventories that train the brain to notice abundance rather than scarcity. Unlike in America, where reflection feels like wasted time that could be spent producing, Swedish culture recognizes something profound. Reflection literally rewires your brain. When you regularly examine your experiences, your mind becomes better at pattern recognition, decision-making, and course correction. The neurological insight is fascinating. This creates what psychologists call metacognitive awareness, the ability to think about your thinking. Swedes don't just live their lives, they actively design them through systematic reflection. What if the key to better decisions isn't gathering more information, but processing the information you already have? What if quieter periods aren't obstacles to productivity, but opportunities for strategic recalibration? The Norwegian Community Intelligence Approach. Norwegian culture operates on a principle that challenges individual achievement culture. Complex problems are best solved through collective intelligence rather than individual brilliance. This isn't groupthink, it's systematic harnessing of diverse perspectives. While American culture celebrates the lone genius and individual expertise, Norwegian culture asks a different question. What if the smartest person in the room is the room itself? The method is elegantly simple. When facing significant decisions or challenges, Norwegians practice what they call fellesskap-tenkning, community thinking. This involves intentionally gathering different viewpoints, ages, and experiences before committing to solutions. Here's what's counterintuitive about this approach. Spending extra time gathering input on the front end saves enormous time on the back end by avoiding costly mistakes and creating buy-in from stakeholders. Their process challenges individual decision-making. Before making important choices, identify 3 to 5 people with different perspectives who care about the outcome. Present the situation honestly, ask for their insights, and genuinely consider their input before deciding. This isn't consensus building, it's intelligence gathering. Norwegian research shows that decisions made through this process have significantly higher success rates and require fewer corrections over time. The collective wisdom consistently outperforms individual expertise, even when the individual is highly qualified. Unlike in America, where asking for help can feel like admitting weakness, Norwegian culture recognizes that complex decisions benefit from multiple perspectives. They've discovered that independence and collaboration aren't opposites. They're complementary strengths. What if the path to better decisions isn't becoming smarter individually, but becoming wiser collectively? What if the best leaders aren't those with all the answers, but those who know how to gather the right insights? Living the Nordic time philosophy. The Nordic approach to time isn't about productivity hacks or life optimization. It's about fundamental alignment with how humans actually thrive. Every principle we've explored works together to create what researchers call eudaimonic well-being, a life that feels both meaningful and sustainable. Here's what's remarkable. The Nordic countries didn't achieve the world's highest happiness ratings through superior genetics or unlimited resources. They developed cultural practices that honor human psychology, biological rhythms, and social needs. The integration framework is beautifully simple. Start with one Nordic principle that resonated most strongly. Test it for 30 days. Notice how it affects your energy, relationships, and sense of time abundance. Then gradually add other elements, allowing them to compound. Whether it's the Swedish lagom approach to balanced priorities, the Danish hygge practice of present-moment awareness, or the Norwegian friluftsliv integration of nature, each principle offers a different pathway to time wisdom. But here's the ultimate insight from Nordic cultures. Time wealth isn't about having more hours. It's about experiencing your hours more fully. When you align your daily choices with your deepest values, honor your natural rhythms, and invest in meaningful relationships, every moment becomes more valuable. Your life is short, but it doesn't have to feel rushed or empty. The Nordics have proven that with intentional living, ordinary days can feel extraordinary. The question isn't whether you have enough time. It's whether you're using your time in ways that honor who you want to become. What if the secret to a life well lived isn't about cramming more into your days, but about extracting more meaning from the days you have? What if the path to temporal abundance runs through intentional scarcity rather than frantic accumulation? These aren't just cultural curiosities from cold countries. These are principles that can transform how you experience every day you have left. The Nordics have cracked the code on something universal: how to live fully in a finite existence. The choice is yours. You can continue racing through life like you have infinite time, or you can start living like the Nordics, with the wisdom that comes from knowing your days are numbered and precious.